If you've been watching the news lately, you may have seen that Powassan virus cases are already being reported. And what's crazier is that some of these can kill. And as our deer tick friend has told us, she may be carrying Powassan virus. And it's important to understand that while very rare, death can occur. Hi guys, Dr. Tom Moorcroft here. And I just wanted to take a moment and share with you a little bit more about Powassan virus so that you can actually put some heads or tails on what you've been seeing in the news and find out not only, should you be worried about Powassan virus, but what you can do to prevent tick bites to begin with so that you can actually minimize your risk of actually even coming in contact with Powassan. So to start with, Powassan's a virus that's transmitted by different Ixodes ticks, primarily on the east coast of the United States, a little bit in the upper Midwest. And the tick that's most commonly referred to as transmitting this is the black-legged tick or the deer tick. And so typically what you're going to see is if somebody does get bit by a tick, they do get Powassan from it. Most people aren't really going to have any symptoms. At least that's according to sort of our conventional research. Those of us who do a lot of work with folks who have tick bites and chronic tick-borne illnesses have seen that Powassan may be a little underreported, but we do think that it's, for the most part, more of a self-limited thing. Typically, if you do get bitten by a tick and you get Powassan, we're going to have like symptoms coming somewhere between 1 week to 1 month after that tick bite. Common things that you might want to think about or symptoms to be aware of include fever, headache, vomiting, and even potentially weakness. And this is kind of going to be the more common presentation. Sometimes we're going to see things that are more severe where we have brain inflammation, brain infection called encephalitis. It could also be meningitis where we have the meninges around the brain or the spinal cord being infected. Very uncommon, but you could get things like lack of coordination, stumbling, difficulty speaking, and even confusion. Now, this death thing, right, that everybody talks about, because when it comes on the news, everybody's like, oh my God, you're going to die from Powassan. Well, the thing is, the people who develop severe disease, which is, first of all, few people develop disease. And if it is, it's very self-limited. Most people are going to have mild disease if they develop it. And then what happens when you look at it and you say, of the people with severe disease, only about 1 in 10 people will die. So that number is going to get a lot less. Now, one of the issues that comes up, though, is if they do happen to have, if you're someone who has severe disease and recovers, about half of those folks are going to have some longer term problems. They may have headaches that come and go, potentially even things like losing muscle mass. And longer term memory problems can be one of those as well. So it's something to be thinking about. One of the things that I wanted to pull up here and talk about, though, before we're going to dive into how to prevent getting Powassan in the first place, is, how much of this do we really have to worry about, right? So primarily our cases are going to be in the Northeast and the upper Midwest. We said that. But how many cases were there in 2020? Well, in the United States, the CDC reports 22 cases total between 2011 and 2020. And the total number of cases, the total number of deaths between 2011 and 2020 were 22. And the total number of cases in that 10-year period were 194 for the entire country. Right. So if you look at 2020 alone, we saw a report of 21 total cases with 1 death. Right now, 2019 was a little bit different. There were 43 cases with 9 deaths. But again, this is so small. Let's compare this to our most common vector-borne illness in the United States, which is Lyme disease. Comes from the same tick, the Ixodes scapularis. But we have well over 350,000 new cases every year. So what we need to be on the lookout for is Lyme disease, not so much Powassan, because it's so low. There is testing available for Powassan. It's kind of more of specialty stuff through the CDC and your local Department of Health. So doctors and other healthcare providers do have access to testing if we think you may have this. But as I said, some of the issues that come up is memory issues, headaches, fatigue, vomiting. I mean, all this looks like acute Lyme disease and babesiosis, which is another tick-borne illness. So a lot of these things can overlap. Unfortunately, when we talk about viral illnesses, a lot of times what the conventional system has to offer us is a lot of stuff, what we call supportive care, meaning we're going to support your body till you get over it. So with Powassan, I mean, I think what we're probably seeing is there may be a little bit of underreporting because we don't have, the testing readily available, and there's not really a treatment that we're aware of. So if you work with someone who combines this conventional approach, maybe, if you had Lyme disease, using some antibiotics as an example, and they work and they combine that with herbal and other natural immune supporting approaches, then you can get a comprehensive approach where we're supporting the immune system a little bit more than just watching and waiting. And if you need the medications, you're getting those. A lot of the things that'll happen then is we'll go into an herbal treatment approach or a combining herbs and medicine approach. And when you do that, we find that a lot of our herbs also have antiviral properties. And this might be one of the places where a lot of our patients are getting that combination approach. So maybe we're underreporting the Powassan because we're helping their bodies address it right off the bat. So more importantly, maybe, especially since we don't have any 100% known treatments or even partially known treatments for Powassan, is that we want to prevent tick bites. And I think it's really important to understand that prevention of tick bites is by far our #1 way to prevent the transmission of Powassan, Lyme disease, and any other tick-borne illness. So what we need to know about this is in our environment, we would consider Lyme disease as what's called a paradomestic disease, meaning somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 75% of people are going to get bitten by the tick that transmits Lyme and also Powassan in their yard or their neighbor's yard. So this is happening on our lawns, not out in the woods all the time, but really something that's deeper or closer to home. So we want to think about landscape management. We've got things like a lot of people like to put their swing sets in the shade when really we need to think about moving that out away from the edge of the woods. So ticks and the mice and the chipmunks that harbor the infections that we're talking about, including Powassan and Lyme, like to be around the edge. And edge is defined as it's literally what it sounds like, the edge of the woods, 10 feet in, and then 10 feet out onto the lawn. This also counts for all your gardens and your bush beds and stuff. So any place where we have a transition between a dense area of vegetation and then an open area, about 10 feet on either side is going to be where these ticks are going to be found most commonly. So if you have areas your kids play a lot, we want to move those swing sets and jungle gyms away from there. Might need a little more sunscreen, but less likelihood of getting a tick bite. You can also do things where working with different companies to manage your yard to help bring down some of the systems. Nix Ticks, at least in the New England area, does a lot of work like that. They've done a study with Bayer where they can decrease the amount of infected ticks on your property by down to about 2% within a couple of years, just by spraying at the right time of the year and using boxes that essentially put tick killer or tick repellent on top of mice and chipmunks. Almost the same thing as what we do with dogs and cats, where you're putting like Top Spot or something similar on. So it's really important to understand that you can do some of these landscape management things. And we'll be providing some links for that so that you can learn more about that and see what's available in your area. The other part, though, is really important. Permethrin is something that you can get. You can buy commercially impregnated clothes, or you can buy your own. Sawyer's is a popular brand where you spray it on your clothes. Now, the biggest thing here is in the liquid form, it's very toxic to aquatic vegetation. So we don't want to be doing this near anywhere where we can get this into the water supply. We don't really necessarily want to get it all over ourselves, but the permethrin is used in certain medical treatments topically. So don't stress out about it. Just, if you can, wear some gloves. But what you're essentially doing is you're going to get a bottle of this stuff and you're going to spray your clothes. And there's been studies done that if you spray your shoes and your socks, and that's it, shoes and socks, what'll happen is you will decrease your risk of getting bitten by a deer tick by upwards of 70%, which is incredible, right? So all you have to do is your typical outside shoes and socks, spray them, follow the manufacturer's instructions, and already lessens, you've decreased your risk of tick bite by 70%. Then you can do things like wearing compression shorts, or the tight boxers, so that you have an occlusive dressing. Because basically the ticks are going to walk up. They're not going to fly or jump down on you. You're going to brush up against something they're on. They're going to walk up you. They're going to look for warm, dark places to hide. So the groin, the armpits, behind the ears, and in the ears, right? So and throughout the hair. So this is an important thing. If I can prevent them from getting in my groin, one less area where I need to worry about. And the cool part about the permethrin is, going back to that for a moment, if you spray the clothing, what you're going to see is that when it dries, it's non-toxic. And so you can do, if you have a pair of pants or even those compression shorts I just talked about that you wear outside regularly, you can have those pre-sprayed, pre-dried, ready to go, non-toxic to you, non-toxic to the environment once dried. So that works really well. But man, how low-hanging fruit is shoes and socks, right? So many other ways to prevent this, like come in, leave your clothes in a plastic bag, maybe throw them in your dryer right away because we want to desiccate or dry out these ticks, kill them before they start walking around our house. That can help. Taking a shower right away will help you be able to wash them off. Daily tick checks are really helpful. But man, I'm telling you what, how easy is it to just spray your shoes and socks? So start with something basic. There's so many different ways to go through preventing a tick bite. But most importantly, today I wanted to talk to you about Powassan, because while it does kill, it's exceptionally rare. So it's not something we have to be overly concerned about or upset with. Do the prevention, right? So number one way to prevent Lyme, prevent babesiosis, anaplasma, Powassan virus, ehrlichiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and all the other things that are in ticks that we know they can transmit to you, and even some that we don't know, because Borrelia miyamotoi has been in ticks for 30 plus years, and no one thought it was transmitted to humans until about 2012. So there's a lot of stuff in them that we don't even know what's going on. So your best bet isn't to go be on all kinds of herbal cocktails or taking antibiotics to just prevent stuff. It's literally to prevent getting bit in the first place. So simple things like managing your environment in your yard, doing the tick checks, taking those quick showers, and just some permethrin on your clothes can go a very, very long way to keeping yourself in the most non-toxic way possible. And I hope with this information, you're armed to not only prevent Powassan, but all these other infections that you can get from a tick, and that you can feel more comfortable going out, enjoying yourself in your yard, in the environment, and, living in harmony with all these cool creatures that are around us outside. I'm an outdoors person. I love doing things, but I want to be safe and I want to be healthy for my entire lifetime. And I want my family safe. These are the tools that I use at home, and I'm hoping that you find them helpful. Until next time, this is Dr. Tom Moorcroft.